Hello, I'm Susan Arsenault and welcome to Real Estate Today. Today, Bonnie Call is here with me again.
Hi, Susan.
Bonnie and I work together with William Raveis, and Bonnie's our associate manager. Give me an explanation of that.
Assistant manager.
Okay.
Second in command.
Second in command. Okay. All right. Today we're going to talk about statistics. This is already May 10th, and we've had a very good start to our year. We're very excited about what's happening in the marketplace. And Bonnie, you can chime in as I talk about these things. We've sold 125 homes already since yesterday.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, it is amazing.
It's such great news. I think that there's an energy in the market, and it just feels so like a long time ago.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Because one of our other big topics today is going to be multiple offers, and that's what happens when the market is moving pretty quickly. We've had 125 sales, so that means 125 homes have sold. And under deposit and show, we have 65 homes under deposit and show.
Which I think is even more encouraging, because really what it's telling us is things are still selling. It's not like we just had a little spurt of activity. It's like we've had a continued, growth all throughout the year. It's been building.
That's right.
So I think normally everyone says the spring market is busy, but it's busier than normal, and we have lower inventory than normal.
Well, that was deposit and show, and a lot of people want the definition of what the show is and deposit. The show is when you take a contract. Usually it's $1,000 or $5,000 with the initial contract. So that then, therefore, on MLS it goes under show status. The house can still be shown, but it is considered under show status. So if someone wants to see the house, there is a contract, but the inspections haven't been done. After the inspections are done, and those inspections are negotiated, it can't be a broken window or something. It has to be mechanical, structural, electrical. And then it goes under deposit. And then after you're under deposit, you wait for the mortgage commitment. So that's the other step. So It's the initial offer, it's the inspections, it's the commitment.
Right.
And so therefore, once it's under deposit, everybody feels pretty comfortable, though, that things are well. Because when we present an offer, I'm sure, if you've had any houses, or if you've sold any houses recently, you need to know that people come with a pre-approval letter.
Right. They're pre-qualified, hopefully, before they start shopping.
That's right. And so we have to match that letter up with the contract so that the homeowner, the seller, sees that, so they know they're qualified. So deals don't usually fall apart because of money these days. They fall apart for other reasons.
Although we have had a couple things falling apart over appraisal
issues?
As part of the mortgage
sector. Do you have an example? Was it a big difference in the appraisal?
I was aware of a situation where a home, probably in the low fives, was under contract but appraised in the fours.
Oh, really?
And because of the fact there was such a large difference between the sale price, and the appraised price, it creates a whole nother dynamic of what to do now. If the lender will allow the loan, they're going to, of course, want to go to the appraised value, because they're only going to want to lend based on the appraised value. So that creates a whole combination of circumstances that we aren't really comfortable with, because we don't do it very often. Obviously, you can change the price. If the seller agrees to sell the price for the home for the appraised value, then okay.
What kind of money were you talking?
This was $70,000.
Oh my gosh.
So $70,000 is a lot of differential.
And so how did that get resolved?
The deal fell apart.
It did fall apart because of that.
And I was related in a downline deal, behind that. So because those people couldn't sell their home, they couldn't buy my listing, so it was kind of the domino effect.
Oh, wow.
So that's why I think the appraisal portion has become a lot more critical. We're not seeing that number, that huge number variance
I've never
as much.
seen 75.
Usually a few, maybe 5. I just had a contract last month that was $5,000, appraised $5,000 less.
You wonder why the appraiser does that, really.
Yeah,
just to cause problems.
But I think the appraisers are directed by the lender. Not everyone understands that they're given their marching orders by the lender, and the lender says this is the criteria we want you to follow when you're evaluating and appraising the property. And for whatever reason, if you have something on that street that maybe was a hardship situation or a foreclosure or something.
Short sale.
Something happened, an abandoned property, it's starting to influence appraisal values just slightly, not in a huge way, but it's a good thing to be aware of that step. So your contract, you're under show, you're excited, your house is sold, now you go through inspections, you negotiate that, and now we're having to also get through appraisals.
Well, that brings up, while you're talking about that, it brings up an interesting thing, because I think of when someone invites me to their home and they want me to give them a price. How I go about giving them a price is pulling up the comps and going through the comps and deciding which ones I'm going to use and come up with a realistic price. But sometimes if someone doesn't want that realistic price and they price it too high, they have a chance that something like that's going to happen, because the comps, meaning the comparable homes that have sold that I'm using, the appraiser's going to be using the same ones.
Right, and I think that, typically we're seeing appraisers looking at 3 to 5 sales, and they're also considering under contract at the same time. So they're kind of looking to the properties that are under contract but not yet closed.
So what do they do? I know I've had some of them call me and ask me what it sold for.
Well, what they're doing is, I think they're doing that research to see if the trend is a little bit stabilized or is it still dipping, and I think it is stabilizing.
Yeah.
But they're looking at what the trend is that's about to happen in addition to what has happened, especially if you have a short sale or a foreclosure in your mix. If they're looking at 3 or 4 comps and one is very low, I think they'll lean, you can always throw out a high, throw out a low, and tilt your numbers ever so slightly. But I think what we try to do in our market analysis is really get the closest comparable sales to what we know about the neighborhood and the condition and the style of the home, and try to get as accurate as we can, which isn't always.
Yeah. Well, this goes back to the point that when the appraiser goes to one of my listings, I meet him there.
Right.
We were told at one point we couldn't meet them there. Remember that a few years back?
Right. When we
I
didn't
meet
want
him
to
there
influence.
so I can show him what I have and where I came with my numbers. And then sometimes he says, "Oh, I didn't have that one." He takes that out of my pile. And then sometimes I don't have something he has.
Right.
So, but I think that's a big help to the homeowner if you meet them there with your homes that you've chosen.
Yes.
To give value to the one that you're selling.
Right, and also because every appraiser doesn't know the individual neighborhood as well. Sometimes they are from out of the area, so it does help to kind of give them an insider.
Yeah. But yes, exactly. And then that's the other thing. I like it when the appraisers call and they'll say, "Well, I'm not quite sure." Well, the other day someone called. I don't understand the square footage. Why was it? It was 5,000 someplace, and on the town card it was 6,000. Well, they had a guest house that was 1,200 square feet, and the town grouped it together. So on their cards it was 6,000, but when I was selling the house, I was saying the house was this many square feet, and the guest house was so many square feet. But he didn't, how would he know if he hadn't been in it? Right. And the other thing is that I watch closely is the fact that we need to have, and the other reason I meet the appraiser is we need to have somebody who's pretty local. Because if they're not pretty local, then you've got to try to educate them a little bit.
Yeah, because there's certainly some things about a comp that they may pull from around the corner that they just may not realize that's a really busy street, and it may be less desirable. It may be nearby, but not necessarily comparable.
That's right. So anyway, that's part of my service.
Yeah, no, I think it's important that we meet the appraisers and that we give them our input, and they do what they're instructed by the lender, but we can certainly give them the insight.
Well, going back to our statistics, in 2012 we sold 266 homes. All right, so I have here in 2007 that was the 5th best year in history. All right, that we had. So in 2007 we closed 318 homes, still a little bit dry. In 2008, 243. So you can see the trend going down. In 2009, 212. 2010, 218, and 2011, exactly the same number, 218. And so now here we are, we're 20% higher. 2012, we sold 266. And if we look at the numbers that we were just talking about, I have a funny feeling we're going to go over 300 sales this year.
That would be exciting.
That would be
really exciting. And it'll be challenging because our inventory is so low.
Yeah.
So it's definitely...
well, the 125 homes on the market right now, that's not a lot of homes.
It's not. And what we're finding is if they're coming on the market and they're priced really well and they're in great shape and they're in a desirable location,
Yep.
they're selling. So we really need more inventory. So clearly people are ready to buy and be in Simsbury.
Because yesterday something came on the market. I called my client. She couldn't come. She couldn't come on Wednesday. And yesterday we tried to get into it at 5 o'clock. It was gone. It was sold.
It's actually.
I looked at it, said, "Oh, nice house, good price." And
Right.
it's gone.
That's great news if you're selling. Not so great if you're not quick on the buy side.
That's right. That's right.
you
You gotta
really
be around.
Available and ready to go.
And then the condo market. There's 23 condos on the market. We've sold 12 condos so far this year. 9 are under deposit and show. So in 2012, we sold a total of 54 condos. So I'm sure it seems like the condo market's very low at this point. Isn't it?
Well, I think the sales kind of had stalled. We went through a pretty, slow period, and it started. I think we're starting to come out of it. Some of it related to assessments and a lot of remodeling that's been going on, especially in the Simsbury condos.
Yeah.
So big assessments tend to scare people off on the
Yes,
purchase side.
in the transactions, the buyers want those assessments to be paid for by the homeowner. They don't want to come into something and pay for a new roof.
Right.
So that happened at a couple complexes in Simsbury last year.
It has been happening. So those big items are sometimes rolled into the monthly homeowners association fee. So we're seeing those numbers rise, which is going to slow down the condo sales in general. I think if you have a homeowner, association fee of
That's a lot of money.
$425 or $450.
Yep.
That's a lot of maintenance that you're paying for. That if you're not reaping the benefit of it, might tip you towards looking at a small home.
That's right.
Instead of a condo. So I think that's a little bit of what we're seeing in the condo market. If the price is not super razor sharp, then you might lean towards a little Cape or ranch somewhere.
Besides the price, it has to look pretty good too.
And it has to
be
look
pristine. It really does.
I agree.
That's what we're going to be talking about a little bit. We're going to be talking about multiple offers. And do you want to start, Bonnie, with explaining what a multiple offer is?
Multiple offers. Well, a multiple offer is obviously just that. More than one party is interested in buying your home. Most sellers are very excited when they hear they have multiple offers, multiple interested parties. But you need to be prepared and you need to kind of think through and plan. Because each offer is different, and some offers are clearly winners. I mean, sometimes you may have 2 or 3 offers, and one is higher price, better overall terms, better closing date, better, tighter inspections, better mortgage. Everything is just clearly the best. So then do you decide, are you going to go back and do what some people consider the fair thing and let everyone have an opportunity to come back with their highest and best offer? I think there's 2 schools of thought there.
But first of all, it's as we say, it's the seller who's driving the bus. So it's up to him.
Seller in charge.
He's in charge. So if he all of a sudden sees one of the offers and he likes it the best, he pulls it out and he says, I want to work with this one.
That's
what
perfectly
you do.
fine.
But he can work with everybody if he wants to.
He can. And our job as realtors is to facilitate the direction of the seller. So if the seller says, I just like buyer number 1, I'm going to sell to buyer number 1, let's negotiate it out and get it done, then that's what we do. If he says, no, let's go back to all the parties, then we go back to all the parties. So the rules are, there are no rules per se, except what is in the best interest of the seller at that point. If he feels that he wants to open it up to everyone to improve, sometimes we see time limits. Everybody come back by Sunday at 6 o'clock with your best offer. But that can backfire a little bit.
That's what I was going to say. I'll take the buyer's side of this.
Yeah, now if you're the buyer and I call you up and say, Susan, I have multiple offers, please inform your client and get back to us by Saturday at 6 o'clock. How do you feel?
Yeah. Well, first of all, if I were the buyer and they said the multiple offer, first of all, being in the business, I would want it and go for it. But a lot of people back away. You don't end up with. You end up with maybe 2 offers. You don't end up with 3 and 4 because the buyer doesn't like that position.
Well, I think most people want to be the winner.
Yep.
But they don't want to overpay. And if they interpret the multiple as something that's going to inflate pricing above where their comfort level is.
But the problem is you don't know that, though.
Right, you don't know.
You don't know who you're dealing with on the other side.
Right, and you don't know that everyone's equally able to buy.
That's
so
right.
What we try to say to our clients, on the buy side is let's present you in your best possible light. whatever that is, whether it's your financing, your timetable, maybe you can close
So,
faster,
wait a
maybe you
minute.
can close
Just to
slower.
explain, you're saying once you find out you're in a multiple offer.
Right.
You take your
What else
client
can we
back
do?
and you say,
Right.
okay, we're in a multiple offer. You want this house. How can we better your offer?
What can we do to look better
That's right.
than the other guy?
That's right.
And that's a strategy. We have to sometimes look at, in some parts of the valley, we're hearing about, I just heard this morning that 2 West Hartford homes went for $50,000 and $70,000 above asking price recently, with 6, 8, 10 multiple offers. That's craziness.
I think
That's-
Rick Dresser, our manager, was involved with something in Glastonbury.
Yes,
with
this
like
past weekend.
seven offers.
Yeah, 7 offers, and that was in a $350 price range in Glastonbury. So what does it mean for you as a buyer? As a buyer, I think what we're counseling our clients is, here's the comparable sales, this is the likely appraised value of the property, where are you comfortable going? And then we have to strategize how to get you looking better than everyone else, which sometimes could be, like I was saying, a quicker closing. Maybe that's desirable. Maybe the seller's in a hurry, but maybe they want to wait till school is out.
But at the agent, you got to try to ask a few questions to
Right.
find out where are the hot buttons. What are they?
Right.
What do they have to have? Like they need to be out of there by the end of June, or they bought something and so they need to be closed by the end of June, or they need certain things. So you ask a few questions on the way to
Right.
see how much information you can get
To make your offer the most
Best.
attractive.
That's right.
Then there are the little more risky options that some people will encourage or discourage, depending on your comfort level, is you can remove your inspection contingency.
That's right.
Meaning that you'll purchase the home, you'll still have a home inspection, you still have all your rights to review the property from top to bottom and all the protection that comes with that, but only for your informational purposes. If you determine, that these things aren't to your liking, you can terminate and not go forward, but you can't then come and say, well, I want this, 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 and this, if you've waived that as part of your purchase. Then, if you're really, really brave and you're getting your mortgage, you're emphatically 100%
that's a toughie.
sure, you can theoretically waive your mortgage contingency, but what does that do? Now it's putting your deposit at risk. If you don't get your mortgage on time or don't get your mortgage at all, now in theory you've failed to perform. So your money
Well,
is at risk. So
I
I'm
was
sure you've
involved.
been through
Yeah.
some of these over the years.
And somebody wanted it. What we did is we ended up putting cash. They paid cash. They took it from some other place and paid cash. And so that made them more desirable by the seller, of course, because they didn't have that aspect of the contract to worry about. They had their inspections to worry about,
Right.
but they didn't have the mortgage commitment and the money aspect of it to worry about. So
But it's a different mindset when you're in a multiple offer. And what we will see sometimes is some people will just pull out as soon as they hear it's multiple
Yes.
offers.
Or they
They'll
don't
just
go
say,
down
"You know
that
what?
road, period."
I'll back up. I'm out. We'll watch and see what happens. We'll wait for another house." That's your
That's
call.
right. That's
Others
right.
will say, "I want it." I've had clients say, "I want it. I don't care. I'll go over. I'll go up." And so we just try to guide them. Go to whatever number you feel you can be good with.
well, the market is hot enough, so sometimes a couple have lost a couple houses already.
That's true.
And so when they lost one house, it's okay. When they lost 2 houses, then usually somebody gets really nervous and they want this house. And so they're going to,
Yeah.
they've looked into their financing, they've inspected the house on their own pretty much. They've taken their Uncle Joe in the house to make sure that they can remove that inspection contingency or whatever.
Right.
But, so there's a lot of emotion involved in this right now. At this point.
Absolutely. And nobody
Okay.
likes to lose. Nobody wants to be we don't like being the one to have to call and say, "We're very sorry, your client didn't
Get the house. That's right.
And then why didn't they get it? What did
Well, and you don't know until it closes, really.
Right, and we can't really say why.
Mhm.
We can simply say this offer was stronger. It was, whatever. It was better. They chose it. That's really the only reason that we're needing to give is the seller chose another buyer. We're
It's-
very sorry.
It's very funny because the seller usually wants to like the people buying the house. And sometimes they cross paths a little bit, or they're at their neighbor's house watching what's going on at their house, and they see a sweet little family, and it was just like they were when they moved into that house,
Right,
and they'll bend over backwards. They'll lose money. They want that family in the house.
It's not always the number.
It's not always the money.
We've seen clients
Right?
look at, offer 1, offer 2, offer 3, and not necessarily take the highest number.
That's right. Because for whatever reason.
Might take a combination of other things. Some of it warm and fuzzy feelings towards them.
But the other thing is, as the agent for the seller, you can go back to one person and say, listen, he really likes your offer. Do you think you could do this? Then you would have the house. And the guy says, yeah, I think I can handle that.
Right.
But this is the part where you are in the driver's seat. You are the bus driver in this situation,
Right.
and you are the one handling this. So you can do whatever you want.
Well, the seller is in charge. At the end of the day, it's up to the seller. And we try to be fair, as much as we can, but we have to take the direction. It's the seller's choice as to who they'll sell to and for what price.
That's right.
But, at the end of the day, there's always somebody whose heart's broken and somebody who's the winner.
That's right.
And then, we go down to the next steps that come after that, informing everybody, bringing in the good news, the bad news, and then the inspections, once somebody's gone
That's a whole
over
other story.
asking price now, the inspections get a little more tense sometimes. And but in the end, our job is to get everybody smiling at the closing table.
Well, one other thing about the multiple offer, I wanted to talk about the escalation clause. And
Well, we are seeing these a little more. And an escalation clause is a separate piece of the contract that can be added by your agent, which simply says that you are aware of the potential for other offers. You can even go with one if you don't know for sure. Sometimes, like you were saying, with a house that is gorgeous and it's just come on, it's perfectly priced, it's in a desirable neighborhood, chances are it's only going to last a day or two. You make your offer and you add the escalation clause, which says that you're going to beat any other offer, written, bona fide other offer, by X number of dollars, up to a maximum price of blank.
Yeah.
Now, there's pros and cons again, and it's a strategy because
You have to be willing to do it.
You have to be willing to do it.
You have to feel creative enough and feel confident enough and want it enough to do that.
And
You really
some
do.
people love that strategy, and we've had sellers, say, "Hey, I kind of like this idea. Theoretically, we're kind of bidding against one another, but at the end of the day, there has to be another offer. If your offer is $1,000 over this offer, and their offer comes in, and you offered $350, and they offered $352, and you said $1,000 over, that's $353, and it's
That's
yours.
Right. That's right.
You just have to be ready to go with that because it's part of the contract.
It's interesting because some agents will say to you, "Well, that's not fair."
Yes, we've
But
had
it is.
that.
I know.
We've had that,
I know.
and it
is fair.
It's fair. It is fair. Everyone has the right to present their offer how they want it presented. So we just hope that the sellers, look at everything and say, all right, this guy's willing to go to this number. I'm willing to sell to him at that number.
Yep.
There just needs to be another offer. Because what the buyers don't want to think is that, okay, well, the seller sees my max here, and he'll just come back and say, okay, I'll take your max.
That's right.
There has to be another offer to allow that escalation to be part of the contract.
Okay.
And usually that's shared after the fact. We'll see a copy of that other
they're
offer.
supposed to show you a copy of the contract.
Yeah. So then at least you've got a comfort that there was that other offer, here's yours, that much more, and now we're pretty much done with the price part of it.
Yeah. But we know that West Hartford's a little bit on fire.
It
I
is.
mean, really, the houses are flying off the shelf there. It's unbelievable. But I think people have to realize that if they're offering $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 more for a house, it might not appraise.
It very well might not.
And so the bank is going to give them the appraised value of the house for their mortgage, whatever they've asked for a mortgage,
Right.
But they're going to have to bring the rest in cash at the closing.
Right, and
So
not
they have to be
everybody's
ready to
mentally
do that.
prepared for that. Not everyone's mentally prepared for
And
the
not
fact
everybody
that could
wants
happen.
to own the most expensive house on the street.
That's true as well. I just think that when you get into the multiple offer frenzy, and as we've heard, people $40,000, $50,000 above the price, you need to have the financial resources to make that happen. Yeah, because the bank is going to only write the loan for the amount equal to the appraised amount.
I would think if I were the seller, I would want to see those funds somehow, that you can afford that that extra money?
I've been asked to produce that.
Have you?
Yeah, I had a situation not too long ago where there was a fairly significant amount down. So we thought we were in a multiple offer,
Yeah.
and we were putting almost 50% down. And we thought, well, we're going to blow everybody away because who's putting 50% down? And they came back and said, show me the money. So we had to produce, a statement showing that the funds were available, which typically you would
Yep.
have in a cash offer situation, verification of funds, perfectly normal. But in this case, it was a mortgage situation with a huge cash amount. And I said, okay, we can do that. That's fine. And in this case, the property, did appraise, so it was not an issue, but it's different.
All right. Well, I guess the point we're trying to make here, Bonnie, is the point that they shouldn't be afraid of multiple offers. And first of all, the other thing is people get multiple offers on a home when the home is in really good condition.
Yes.
When the home is pristine, and I think when the home is priced correctly, and it's on the right street, and it has the curb appeal, updated, big deal, and that's how people end up with, their homes do get multiple offers. I think that's what it is.
And
I think
the supply and demand. I mean, the
well,
fact
I
that
think
we're
West
so
Hartford.
low.
I mean, their inventory and our inventory are totally different inventory.
Right.
And so it's not all the same criteria that we keep on saying the house has to, have new kitchens, new bathrooms, A lot of the West Hartford houses don't have that, but they have the location, the right location.
Right. They're walking to town.
That's right, and that's what people want. Right. So it's different from town to town.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think the good news is that the market is strong, that things are selling, that prices are holding, and that overall it's optimistic.
Yeah. Well, I just want to, as we're leaving here, I want to say the inventory, we need more homes for sale.
We do.
All right. But the prices aren't climbing up there crazy at all.
They're not. They're
very stable. They're very
not,
stable.
Yeah, so if you're thinking it's going to go crazy, not anytime real soon.
We're selling more units, but we're not necessarily getting a lot more money for those units.
Well-priced units are selling quicker than they used to. Mm-hmm. And we're hearing a little talk about a possible interest rate fluctuation in the not-too-distant future. Nothing significant, but, we've been in the 3s for a long time here. And if that should start to trickle up, I think anyone thinking about buying should be flexing their buying muscles while we still have the great rates and we still have the low pricing. And
so true.
Hopefully good news for everyone.
Well, Bonnie, our half hour just flew by. Thank you very much.
Really? We're done?
We are done.
Oh, my gosh.
Thank you very much for being with us. I hope you found this interesting, and don't be afraid of multiple offer. Your agent will take good care of you. Thank you very much.
Funding for Simsbury Community Television is provided in part by contributions from viewers like you. Thank you.